friends, it's Zoe. Welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to be back. I'm sure you can tell that there is a bit of a scenery change behind me. I do not have a bookshelf because mine broke in the move. I'm very sad about it, but I'm not because I actually really wanted a new bookshelf. So right now, all of my books are stacked behind me. Yeah, I just couldn't keep my books in boxes anymore. I just missed seeing them and having them, and so I just brought them all out and put them against the wall, which probably created more work for myself, but I don't really care. So anyway, I'm back. It's been a minute. I have been in the process of moving with my husband from our apartment to a house, and you guys, I am just over the moon about our new place. It's really hard to explain without giving a giant story, but we lived in a really awful apartment for our whole first year of marriage, and God is so good, and we finally got to get out and find a house that we love that is literally just the biggest step up from where we were, and I feel like a new human being. It's just amazing. We have a backyard. I have a home office, which is great because I work from home, so it's so good to have a designated space instead of just feeling pretty trapped in the apartment that we were at. So I'm just so happy. I'm so happy. Our cats are happy. We have so much space. We have working air conditioner. I have a hammock in the backyard to read on. I'm in heaven. I am in heaven. I am so happy. I'm just I'm seriously over the moon. Anyway, so that's where I've been. I have been moving. It was crazy. It's super hot. We live in the south, so it was, oh my goodness. I just needed to dedicate most of June to the whole process of getting the house, packing, moving, unpacking, all that stuff. So I put aside videos for a minute. I actually didn't even read that much in June, which made me really sad. But what can you do? Life happens. With that said, I did get to read 4 books in the month of June, which is a book a week, which is not up to par with what I usually read. However, like I said, busier month. I would love to talk about the 4 books that I read though, because I did read some really good ones, and I read some ones that I didn't super love. So without any further ado, I'm just going to jump into what I read in the month of June. What was the first book that I read? Thank you, Goodreads, because I do not keep track very well. Okay, the first book that I read in the month of June was The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things by Carolyn Mackler, and I really, really enjoyed this book. So this story follows 15-year-old Virginia Treves. She is plus sized, she is feisty, she is spunky, and she's a teenager wading through the mess that is high school. So Virginia's family is not plus size like she is. They are thin, they are seemingly put together, they are a little bit more uptight, and she just doesn't feel like she quite fits in with her family or with really just anyone at high school. This story really follows just her journey in accepting who she is as a plus size girl and loving herself. There's a little bit of a relationship in there, and she's kind of figuring that out. There's also some pretty intense family drama where her brother is accused of raping a girl at his college. This book definitely didn't stray away from heavier topics, and I actually remember reading this book in high school, and I really, really liked it because I was a plus size girl in high school, and it is so hard. And to be able to read a character that had so many similar thoughts to, that I did, and that struggled with so many similar things, it was really refreshing to find in a book. The author Carolyn Mackler actually just came out with a sequel to this book, which is crazy because it's 10 years later or more that the sequel came out. So she actually revamped this one to update it to kind of make it modern, which was kind of cool. Instead of emailing, they texted kind of thing. So it was really fun to reread, and I loved it just as much as when I read it in high school. Overall, I think this is a really fantastic contemporary that is fun and light, but at the same time does hit on heavier topics. If you're looking for a good contemporary to read with maybe a relatable point of view and character, I definitely recommend picking this book book up. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read in the month of June was Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. I actually read this book as a part of the book club that I'm a part of here locally. It's just me and a few of my friends, and we picked this book to read this month, and I'm sad to say that I just did not like this book at all. I did not enjoy reading it. Basically, it's about a boy and a girl. They meet, they fall in love, but they fall in love in a country that is going through war and a lot of just like political disruption, and it's becoming a very unsafe place to live. They end up escaping through these doors, these magical doors that lead them to basically new countries or new places, but kind of wherever they go, like, destruction still follows. And that was probably my main issue with this book, is that it just, a lot of it felt really unclear. Maybe I didn't understand it. Maybe it just was like out of the realm of what I understand in books, but I didn't really get a clear picture as to what was going on. And I think the author was trying to make it more about the characters than necessarily the political issues, which is fine, but the entire story like was told in narrative. There was so little dialogue in this book that it drove me crazy. Like, I wanted to hear more and see more scenes from the two characters instead of just the narrator's voice the whole time. I'm very much a character-driven person, so if a book isn't driven by characters and there's like little dialogue, I just don't get into it. Also, I was really thinking that there was going to be more magical realism in this story than there was. The magical doors basically were there and then they weren't. Like, they weren't explored further or talked about anymore other than the two characters going through the doors, and that was it. And I was kind of like, but they're magical doors. Like, I want to talk about that. Like, why are they magical? How do they, is it like Monsters Inc? Like, they go in through the door and then they come out and like, with like the Yeti? I don't know. Like, I was just like, what? For that reason, I think my expectations were just different for what it was. I really wanted more from the characters, their like entire love thing. I don't know. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't a book for me. There were some great lines. There's some beautiful writing in here. Really, really beautiful writing. But as far as like enjoyment's sake, I just didn't enjoy reading it. It was not something that I gravitated to. And ultimately, I ended up giving it 1 out of 5 stars. The next book that I finished in the month of June was actually Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman. I do not have a physical copy, but I will put it up a picture right here. It is the sequel to Scythe by Neal Shusterman, and it was very good. I listened to the audiobook, and it took me like, I started the audiobook in May and then I finished it in like June, so it took me a minute to get through. I didn't love it as much as Scythe. We're introduced to like a new character, and then there's just like a lot of plot development, and one of the main characters in the first book is barely seen in the second book, and there was just a lot more to it. I didn't hate it by any means. I still really enjoyed it, and I'm shocked at how much I loved a sci-fi. Like, I really, really liked this book. It's a contemporary that it like explores what it would be like if we lived in a world where like perfection existed, basically. Like, there's no death, people don't get sick, people don't run out of food or money, like everything, they don't feel pain. Like, it's like crazy, this kind of just dystopian world that's created. And however, to like keep the population like level, there are these people that are called scythes, and they kill people. So like, people can live for a long, long time, but then they like, scythes will randomly kill people, choose people to glean, and that's how they like regulate the population, I guess. It's a really interesting story, and I like recommend it to everyone because it's just so good. Really thought-provoking. The second book really explores Thunderhead, which is what it's called, which is kind of like this like giant overseeing cloud. Like, it's kind of like their god in a sense, and like the Thunderhead is what keeps everything like in perfect harmony. It's really good, you guys. If you haven't read this series yet and you're looking for something to just like kind of maybe get you out of a rut or just like shake things up a bit, I would really recommend this series. I wish I would have recommended it to my book club because I like want to talk about it to so many people because it's just very thought-provoking, especially the second one. And the ending, Oh my gosh, the ending of the second book was crazy, like crazy. Oh my goodness, I'm just like reliving it all of a sudden, but it just like blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. Mega huge, ginormous cliffhanger. I am dying for book 3. Oh my goodness, it was so good. It was so, so good. Definitely recommend. Neil Shusterman is a fantastic writer. Loved it. And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really, really liked it. Didn't love it as much as Scythe, but still really equally enjoyed it. And the ending just like blew my mind. That's like probably one of the best endings I've read in a book in a very long time. Like so, so good. So good. The last book that I read in the month of June, I really loved. I really, really loved. And it was Down Among the Sticks and Bones. This is by Seanan McGuire, and it's the second book in the Wayward Children series. The first book is Every Heart a Doorway. And this is the second book in that series, and dang, this was amazing. Oh my goodness, this was so good. This series essentially follows the lives of children that have passed through magical doorways. So if you think like Alice in Wonderland or Narnia or maybe like The Wizard of Oz, like they pass through magical doorways in their real world to get to a new fantastical world, and then they come back, whether they want to or not. Then they end up coming back to the real world and they're changed forever, because who wouldn't be totally changed forever if they passed through a magical world and then came back to the real world? Anyway, the first book, Every Heart a Doorway, follows like a bunch of kids. They basically all end up going to this home, kind of like home slash school, kind of like an orphanage in a sense, because their parents like don't know what to do with them. So they bring them to this home and they all can kind of like share their experiences, talk about it, also have school, and just be with people who like know what they've experienced. So that was the first book. We do see the lives of like a bunch of different kids at the school. The next few books are actually showing some of the stories that these children actually went through. So it's like kind of flashbacks. Oh my gosh. So the first book we do meet Jack and Jill. They're twin sisters, Jacqueline and Jillian. And so the second book, Down Among the Sticks and Bones, is all about their story and the doorway that they passed through, the things that they experienced, and what happened. And oh my goodness, I cannot get over Seanan McGuire's writing. These books are short, less than 200 pages. Now I understand why. The first one I was like, oh, okay, you know, it's really good. That was so unique and creative and original. But reading this one, I mean, like, the amount of creativity and the sentences that she constructs and crafts is just so phenomenal that you don't need a bigger book. Like, every sentence she writes is so rich and so creative and full of art. And it's just like, I can't even, like, oh my goodness. It's not cheap. Like, her writing is not cheap. It's so rich and full of content, every single sentence, that if you had a bigger book, like, it would be overwhelming. Like, this is the perfect size, and I was just blown away by the writing. I was so captivated every single page. I'm just blown away, and I am dying to read the third one, Beneath the Sugar Sky. It looks beautiful. It's like super colorful, and I think it follows another one of the kids that goes to more of like a Candyland kind of place. I forget what it was called. But anyway, back to Down Among the Sticks and Bones. We follow Jack and Jill. Their parents are terrible to them. They wish they had a boy and a girl, but they had 2 girls. So they like grew her up to be really sporty, and then the other girl to be really feminine, and that's just like not who they wanted to be. And I think when they were 12, they ended up finding this like magical chest. They go down the stairs and they end up here in the moors, Down Among the Sticks and Bones. It is like super scary, and one of the girls ends up going with like this like vampire master guy and like being his like kind of daughter, and then the other girl ends up going with this like mad scientist kind of guy and like ends up like learning all of these just different like sciencey things, but very creepy, like just such a creep factor to this story. Scary and intense. It's a very dark fairy tale. Like, that's what I would go with. Just very, very dark. What I really loved the most though is that I read this book and I finished it, and I immediately had to pick up Every Heart a Doorway again and flip through it and go back and read all of the references about Jack and Jill, because it was so interesting how well it tied in. It was perfect. It was brilliant. Like, oh my goodness, if you're not reading this series, I feel bad for you. Because it was really, really good. I am so glad that I read this, and I am dying to read Beneath the Sugar Sky. This series, this is absolutely one of my favorite series so far of this year. I am obsessed. I am obsessed. I need like more fan art because I need to like just hang up all of their stuff. Like I just want this in my life. It's just so good. Oh my gosh. So that is everything I read in June. It was so short. I thought I read more than that. I really did. I thought I read more than that, but I didn't. So I need to step up my game in July. But yeah, I'm just really excited to be back. I'm excited to be talking to you guys in my house and just feeling like a new person. And hopefully next time you see me, I will have bookshelves, but maybe not. So I don't know. Don't hold me to that. Anyway, those are all of the books that I have read in the month of June. I hope you guys read some awesome books. Let me know what your favorite book was that you read in June. I would love to know. I would love to add it to my TBR. I'm always looking for great book recommendations, and I definitely trust y'all's taste. I hope you guys have a really great day wherever you are, and I will talk to you soon in my next video. Bye!